afternoon, everybody, and welcome aboard your London Eye River Cruise. Woo! Oh yes, hello everyone, my name is Ben and I'll be your tour guide today. Welcome on board, everyone. Also joining me on board today, we have my fantastic colleagues. We have George and we also have Josh. Now they will be around the boat today to answer any questions that you may have. Whether that you needing directing to the bar, the toilet, or just have any other questions, feel free to ask them and they'll be more than happy to help you out today. And we have just had a very short safety announcement. Now, if you did miss any of it, not to worry, I will be repeating the most important part, and that is for all of you on the upper deck today. Please, you just make sure to remain seated for me whilst taking your photos and videos. This is for two reasons. Firstly, we don't want you falling off because, well, quite frankly, I don't fancy getting my Baywatch on. And secondly, so our captains can see what they're doing at all times, as they are located just behind you in the wheelhouse today. And also, we will be passing under a fair few bridges, so if you do see somebody on top, do feel free to give them a cheer or a wave. Hello on the bridge! Hello! Hello guys! It's probably the only chance you will get a fine thing away back here in London, so you might as well make the most of it. Now on the right hand side here we have the Palace of Westminster, or more commonly known as our Houses of Parliament. Now in the early 1800s, 2 cartloads of wooden tally sticks were brought in here to be burnt in underfloor furnaces. Now this caused a huge fire, burning majority of Parliament to the ground. And how did the people of London help? Well, they didn't. They stood on the other side of the river and they chanted, "Burn, Parliament, burn!" And one man actually got arrested for excessive chanting. Also, just outside of Parliament, you'll see 2 different coloured awnings. You'll see red and you'll see green. Now, red stands for the Lords and green for the Commons. This colour coding goes throughout the rest of Parliament as well, where inside they have different bars, cafes and even toilets. Now, this is all to keep them separated and to stop corruption. I'll say no more on that. But the 2 bridges either side of us, ahead of you we have Lambeth Bridge, which is slightly painted red, and just behind you Westminster Bridge, entirely painted green. Now these are all entrance points for either house, again to keep them separated. But now on the right hand side, again on the wall of the Thames, you'll see a set of steps with a very small hut on top. Now this small hut was in fact once London's smallest prison. And one very famous man has stayed here. Of course, that man being none other than Guy Fawkes, the man behind the infamous gunpowder plot. When he was captured, he was placed in here, later to be taken down the Thames to the Tower of London, where he was then hung, drawn and quartered for his crimes. And for the 3 distinct towers coming out of the top of our Houses of Parliament, the tallest one on the left hand side with the Union flag. Now this one is Victoria Tower, and this tower holds all the laws all the way back until the 1400s. All the good, the bad and even the silly. Now speaking on silly laws, one silly law that we have here in the UK is that you are not allowed to hold a salmon suspiciously in public. Yeah, that is a true law. For what reason, I have absolutely no idea. I mean, you can hold a salmon, just don't do it suspiciously. Whatever that means. The pointy one, in the middle there, we have Central Tower. It's just an old chimney. However, the one at the end, the one we all know, the one we all love. None other than Elizabeth Tower. Yes, Elizabeth Tower and not Big Ben. Big Ben actually refers to the 13.5-ton bell that sits inside the tower. Now the reason it's called Big Ben is because of a man named Sir Benjamin Hall. Now he was the chief commissioner at the time this bell was being built. He was said to be a large round-shaped man who was very loud and not very nice to his workers. So once the bell was built, well they just named it after him in the end. So I mean we all do just call it Big Ben because, well, it's just better. I am Big Man. It's actually named after me, not, of course, Sir Benjamin Hall. I was the original, the best. And on the right hand side, this hospital here, we have St Thomas's Hospital. Now this is the first hospital to implement Florence Nightingale's practices after the Crimean War. And still, to this very day, the nurses inside of here are all still nicknamed Nightingales after her. But a bit more about the Houses of Parliament. Now, this used to be home to monarchs, and the last known monarch to live here was actually Henry VIII himself. Now, he got sick of this place, so he moved out to the Palace of Whitehall, where this was later handed over to the government, and has, of course, forever been that way now. But once again, as we pass on the Westminster Bridge, there's plenty of people up there, so make some noise and get your waves. Hello, Westminster Bridge! Hello! Hello, guys. Hello. Lovely stuff. But now on the right hand side here, we have my employer, the London Eye. Now this is the tallest cantilevered observation wheel in the world, standing at 135 metres tall. Cantilevered means it is supported on just the one side. Observation meaning the pods are on the outside and not the inside, of course, making it a cantilevered observation wheel and not a Ferris wheel. You may also notice that there are 32 pods on this wheel, and that is one pod for every borough here in London. However, if you were to go on the London Eye and you found yourself on a pod number 33, do not be alarmed, I did not lie to you. Pod number 13 was actually removed for all our superstitious guests, as a lot of people actually refused to get on a pod number 13 and go 135 metres above the Thames in it. Then who can blame them? But the London Eye was originally built to be entered into a competition. Now this competition was to find a new landmark to celebrate the millennium here in London, where the London Eye came in second place. Yeah, there you go, second. However, British Airways, they liked this design so much that they funded to keep it. They spent £75 million, and they made that money back in just 2 years' time. If you're wondering how they managed to do that, well, you've all seen the state of the ticket prices. That's exactly how. And our next bridge is here. In the middle we have the Hungerford Railway Bridge, and either side are the two Golden Jubilee bridges. Now these two Golden Jubilee bridges were built in 2002 to celebrate our late Queen's Golden Jubilee. Hello guys. Hello. And on the right here we have London South Bank. Here you will find the Royal Festival Hall, built in 1951 to celebrate the Festival of Britain, and it was said to be a tonic to the nation after World War II. For any fans of orchestral music on board, you can actually go inside of here and watch London's Philharmonic Orchestra practice for free. Also along the South Bank you'll find places such as the Queen Elizabeth Hall, the Purcell Rooms and the Hayward Gallery. Now these are all places of art, but underneath this complex, just next to those yellow steps there, you will find the Undercroft. Now this is the UK's first skate park, built in 1970s, and is said to be the home of British skateboarding. And our next bridge here, we have Waterloo Bridge, and this is the longest bridge out of all the bridges here in central London. It's also a self-cleaning bridge, meaning the stone they used to build this bridge on a very rainy day, it reacts with the rainwater and it actually cleans itself. So it's probably one of the cleanest bridges in the world. And Waterloo Bridge gets the nickname of the Ladies' Bridge. Now that is because whilst the men were away fighting in World War II, well, the ladies, they were tasked upon to build this bridge. Now, this bridge was continuously being bombed in the Blitz. However, to this day, it is still the only bridge here in London to be built on time and under budget. Are we surprised? Of course not. Well done, ladies. Again to your right here, this very ugly building with the electronic board on top. Now this is our National Theatre, built in the brutalist style of architecture, so it's supposed to be ugly, and our King Charles, said that it looks like the back end of a nuclear power station. However, do not be fooled by its ugly outer. Inside there are 3 beautiful theatres. The largest one being the Olivier Theatre, which was named after its first artistic director, Sir Laurence Olivier. And for any theatre fans on board, if you wanted to go see a West End quality show for a lot less than the West End price, I would definitely recommend checking this place out, as most shows that are put on here do end up being transferred to the West End eventually, so it's a great way to get some cheap tickets for a very good quality show. But for the most shocking part of today's tour, more shocking than finding out that Big Ben is not actually called Big Ben. Coming up on your right here, we have London's very own beach! Ta-da! Yeah, this is Ernie's Beach, named after a man named Ernie. He did 50 years of charity work here in London, trying to create affordable housing here on the South Bank. And therefore he was rewarded with his very own beach named after him. And on sunny days you will see people sunbathing on here, and even building sandcastles with whatever sand they can find. And just next to Ernie's Beach, this large red brick building with a tower on top that, well, totally does not say OXO. Yes, this is the OXO building. Once owned by the stock keeper company here in the UK, OXO. Now, the reason I say this totally does not say OXO is because, well, legally, it doesn't. As when this was built, skyline advertising was in fact illegal, due to it was currently sailing on a royal highway. So of course, they were taken to court for this. However, they hired a very clever lawyer. Now, this very clever lawyer simply said to the judge, no, this does not spell our company name. We just ordered 3 random geometrical shaped windows, put them up in a completely random order, and it just happened to spell our company name. What are you talking about? Do we believe them? Of course not. However, the judge did, and later on this judge was actually laughed out of his courtroom, and he became known as a laughing stock. Thank you very much. The jokes don't get any better, so it's going to be a long tour. Anyway, our next bridges here are Blackfriars bridges, and the name Blackfriars, it comes from an old Dominican priory here on the north side of the river, where the monks inside wore long black mantles over their white robes, and forever dubbed the Blackfriars. Either side of you now, mysterious redstone columns. What was their purpose? What do they mean? Well, I'll let you ponder on this, and I shall reveal all in part 2 of today's journey. But in the meantime, to your left-hand side here, we have St. Paul's Cathedral. Now, this is the 5th iteration of St. Paul's. The one before this actually burnt down in the Great Fire of London in 1666. And at this time, this was the largest building in the world. However, this one now stands at 365 feet tall, and yes, that is 1 foot for every day of the year. That is because the man who built this, Sir Christopher Wren, he was a very religious man, and he believed that you should pray every single day of the year, therefore built at 365 feet tall. And if you take a look at the top of St. Paul's Cathedral, you will of course see the cross. However, when this was originally built, they actually wanted a 60-foot golden pineapple instead. Now, that is because back then, well, pineapples, they signified wealth due to them being so rare and exotic. And a pineapple in today's money would have cost you just around £5,000. Of course, this design was rejected, so they just stuck with the cross. But if you look at the 2 clock towers on the left-hand side of St. Paul's Cathedral, well, on top of those, you will see 6-foot golden pineapples. So he managed to sneak them in somewhere. Now, to your right here, of course, we have none other than William Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. Now, like many things here in London, of course, this is not the original. The original burned down, surprise, surprise, during a performance of Henry VIII, where they used a live cannon to signify the sound of thunder. where the sparks from the cannon flew onto the thatch roof and burnt the place to the ground. I mean, it just goes to show that Shakespeare really did know how to bring the house down. This one was actually built in 1997 by an American actor and director named Sam Wanamaker. He came to the UK to find a monument to remember our beloved Shakespeare, where he found absolutely nothing. So he took it upon himself to recreate the globe, where today it is the only thatch roof building you will find left here in London, after thatch roofing was outlawed after the Great Fire due to being a catalyst to the flames. Tour of London without pointing at the pub. On your right hand side here we have the Anchor Tavern. Now this has stood here for over 800 years and it used to be a popular meetup spot for pirates back in the day. Now many famous people have drank here, from the likes of Charles Dickens, the famous diarist Samuel Pepys. He actually witnessed the start of the Great Fire from this very tavern. Also William Shakespeare drank in the Anchor in his writing days. It's actually said they still have some of Shakespeare's pencils in here. However, they are that tuned they can't tell if they're to be or not to be. But now take a look to your left here. Between these two buildings is a large stone column with a golden orb on top. Now this is the monument, built to remember the Great Fire of London, and it was also built as a viewing platform for those people of London to walk to the top and watch their city rebuild around them. Now of course you can still walk up it to this day, where it consists of 311 steps. No lift to help you to the top, so once you reach the top, well, your thighs will truly be burning. What a way to remember the fire. But it does only cost around £6 to do, and you get a nice little certificate once you reach the top. This was also built by Sir Christopher Wren, the same man that built St Paul's Cathedral. And this was actually the first thing he built after the Great Fire destroyed most of London on the north side of the river here. Again, if you look to your left here, between these buildings, you'll see the monument in all its glory. But now, of course, for the moment you have all been waiting for. The world famous, fantastic London Bridge! Woo! Yes! Now, the world famous, fantastic London Bridge is directly behind you. Yeah, the 4-inch slab of concrete we've just passed underneath. That's London Bridge. Surprise! The bridge you see ahead of you, we have Tower Bridge. Now, if anybody did get this wrong, do not be ashamed, you're not the only ones. If you were to type in London Bridge on Google Images, show you a picture of Tower Bridge. So, even Google gets it wrong. But I will speak a bit more on Tower Bridge once we do get closer. But for the next thing I will speak on, now it is quite hard to see as it is in camouflage, but if you look very closely to your right hand side here, you may just be able to notice our 11,500 ton battleship, the HMS Belfast. Now this played a significant role in World War II, where it helped sink Hitler's favourite ship, the Scharnhorst, and it also fired some of the first shots on the D-Day landing. Now, its forward-facing cannons can fire up to 12 miles and for some reason are permanently locked onto a service station on the M1. For what reason? Nobody really knows why, but it would score a direct hit. And after the World War, well, this ship was actually set to be scrapped. However, the Imperial War Museum, well, they stepped in and they bought this ship for a grand total of £1. Yes, just one single pound they bought this entire ship for, where today it sits in the Thames as a floating naval museum. But as we do get closer to Tower Bridge, I will get out of your way, looking at your photos without being in them. Once again, please do just make sure to remain seated for me, just so our catchers can see and the people behind you can get a good photo as well. But at Tower Bridge is known as a vascular bridge, meaning the two parts in the middle actually open up to allow larger ships through. On its first year, it opened over 6,000 times. Now, it doesn't open that often anymore, but if you do have a large enough ship and you give them 24 hours notice, they will still open it for you. And if you did want to see Tower Bridge open while spending your time here in London, I would definitely recommend checking out the Tower Bridge website. It shows you all the dates and the times that the bridge will be opening, so you can actually plan your dates around it. And as we do pass on the Tower Bridge today, it is very important we do make some noise and try and get away from the people on this bridge. As it said, if you get away from somebody on Tower Bridge, you'll actually get 5 years of good luck. So make some noise, get your waves, get that 5 years of good luck. Hello on Tower Bridge! Fantastic work, guys. 5 years of good luck for a lot of you. But now you have your photo opportunity of the day on your left here, Tower Bridge with the beautiful London skyline behind it. So get your phones and cameras at the ready. But on the right hand side here we have the Grosvenor Tower in London, founded in 1066 by William the Conqueror and later on finished off by his son William II in 1100. Now, of course, this is where that man Guy Fawkes was taken to be home drawn and quartered, but he wasn't the only one to be executed here. Some more people, such as two ex-wives of Henry VIII, Catherine Howard and Anne Boleyn, taken through the now British Hall on the right with the words "Entry to the Traitor's Gate" written with it, taken through here by roads into the ground of the tower, and later executed. Now, to be executed within the grounds of the tower, that was only reserved for royalty. The rest of us commoners back in the day would have been taken to Tower Hill, where we would have been hung in front of a public audience, and well, back then, that was a fantastic time for a day out. Now, if you weren't thinking of paying for a guided tour of the Tower of London, and once you didn't pay to get inside, a lot of I recommend not doing so. This is because we speak to the awards, or more commonly known as the beat beaters, very, very nicely. They might in fact give you more for free. This is because they live here alongside William here and have done for over 700 years, and this is a god by Dr. John Jones. Now, of course, if they did give you a free tour, do make sure to give William a tip. As it says, if you tip any London tour guide, you'll get an extra 5 years of good luck. How cool is that? Here we do have our beautiful skyline. Now, we do like to nickname a lot of things here in London, especially our skyscrapers. So, some of the nicknames we give these buildings are the pointy one you can see there. We have the scaffold. Just a little bit of one big conversation triangles or diamonds. This one is the cheese grater. And the one closer to us, we have the walkie-talkie. Now, on top of the walkie-talkie, there is a sky garden, and this is free to enter. You need to book your tickets way in advance. But if you do fancy a cocktail or another view, I'll open that night check as well. And to your left here, we have the tallest building in the UK, standing at 309 metres tall. We have the Shard. Now, this will forever be the tallest building, as it is as tall as the UK aviation laws will allow it to be. Inside of here, we have the 5-star Chateau Hotel, bars, offices, and even apartments. Now, an apartment inside the Shard, well, that would set you back just around a measly £50 million. Then once you get to that price, well, you can't open the window, you're not transparent, and you don't get to go. So is it worth it? No, not so sure. But going back onto the London Bridge, if you don't believe me, this is the real London Bridge. Look either side of you, that's past me, and the name is literally written into the stone. This will be completely rich. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with the massive London Bridge did have a tendency to, well, fall down. Now, after this first thing was written down by the Vikings, a second more permanent medieval bridge was built. Now, this more permanent medieval bridge was said it would take over half an hour to cross due to it having its own little city. Now, this one fell down in the Great Fire of London, and then a third bridge was built, and for some reason this third bridge began to sink. So an American man by the name of Robert P. McCullough, he bought this bridge for $2.5 million, where it was later sent off, Brickman Bridge to Arizona, and reconstructed over the Sea. So, yes, there are two London bridges. Now, our next bridge group here, we have the Millennium Bridge. And for any new fans on board, you may recognise this bridge from movies such as Harry Potter and the Half-Blood where Voldemort's techniques is attacked and destroyed this bridge. Oh, God, has fallen where it was attacked and destroyed. Oh, God, into the galaxy where it was attacked and destroyed. And we have no idea why Hollywood hates this bridge so much, but I promise you it has nothing to do with us, and we will deny. We are not that bitter about it. Second, yes. This bridge is what people deny in the competition I was speaking of earlier, hence its name, Millennium Bridge. Now, Millennium Bridge did have quite a shipping structure spread, as on its first day of opening, over 160,000 people crossed this bridge, where they all noticed a very severe lull. Now, this one was so severe that many of them were thrown up over the sides, falling over, and many had to be rescued. And after just 3 days' time, this bridge closed down, closing for 2 more years. And once it reopened, well, we just gave it the name of the Wobbly Bridge. Now, our next bridge here, we have Blackfriars Railway Station, the only railway station to start the interchange with the Thames. And you may notice it's rather weird looking route. That's because each one of those is actually a sunny point. So on a very sunny day here in London, this train station is completely sun-powered. On the other 364 days, it's not. Now the mysterious Greystone Columns, that are people have been so curious about. Now those mysterious Greystone Columns, well,